What's going on, guys? Killer6, and in today's video I want to remind everybody that the Revenge of the Cartels event is slated to go away this coming Thursday, June the 4th. If you're planning on trying the new Guardian takedown that also drops on the 4th, then you're going to want to land some of these weapons and get some good anoints before then. So in this video I'm going to teach you guys how to quickly farm these cartel items and tell you which cartel items are actually worth keeping and what anointments you should be on the lookout for. So let's just get right into it. To start things off, you need to make sure that the cartel event is enabled on the main screen before you start a game. Pretty simple, but I've been known to turn it off for something and then forget to turn it back on, so I figured I'd mention it just in case. Next, you need to speak to Maurice in Sanctuary. He's the Sauron that lives in the little room across the way from Tanis's lab and right next door to Hammerlock. He's located right here on your map. Now, after speaking to Maurice, you're going to get a mission to hunt cartel members across the galaxy and collect their rings that you can use then to open up the gate to get into Villa Ultraviolet. There's a couple of quick and easy spots you can go to collect the rings needed to access Villa Ultraviolet and take on Joey, the cartel leader. My favorite spot to get the rings is just Carnivora proper. You can spawn in at the beginning of this map, run forward into the first area, and if you're on one of the higher mayhem levels, you'll get a lot of rings pretty quickly. But you can also go to the Slaughter Shaft in Conrad's Hold on Pandora. If you've been there before, you can just straight travel to it, but if this is your first time going to the Slaughter Shaft, you're going to need to spawn in at Conrad's Hold and run about halfway across the map to this location and enter this door. From there, just accept the mission for the slaughter, run in, and get your rings by killing enemies in this zone. This method is almost certainly the fastest, as Slaughter Shaft gives more badasses than most areas in the game. There are plenty of other places you can run to get the rings required for entry though, so don't feel like you have to do these two. I just want to give you guys what I like to do and what is widely considered to be the fastest option. Okay, now that you have the rings, head back to Sanctuary and talk to Maurice. You'll now be able to access a portal beside him which teleports you to Villa Ultraviolet, and this place is amazing. The initial view when you round the corner, the waterfalls, the architecture, that initial slide down the hill to start the map off. I just absolutely love this map, and I'm hoping the Gearbox might somehow give us a way to keep this in game at some point. To open the gate, just go to the computer on the right of the gate and enter the password, which it does automatically if you've collected all the rings. Fight your way through the map following the objective. Nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary here, but when you get to the final fight, this is where I have a way for you to farm what you're after super fast. When the fight with Joey and his minions begins, he will send out two mini bosses, one at a time at first. They can be Fish Slap or Tyrone, who can both drop the Fish Slap grenade, the Yellow Cake launcher, and the Wattson shield. Josie Bites or Franco Firewall, who can both drop the O.P.Q system, needle gun, and Firewall shield. Roaster or the Tenderizer, who can both drop the NoPewPew, Iceburger, and Grease Trap. So depending on which items you're after, you're going to want a certain pair of mini bosses to spawn here. Luckily, if you don't get the pair that you want, then you can literally save and quit to reload the area so you can get a brand new set of mini bosses. So let's say you want to quickly farm an O.P.Q system. Just drop in and look for Josie and Franco to spawn in. If you get them both at the same time, you can maximize the speed of this farm, or you can just settle for one of those two in addition to maybe like Fish Slap or Tenderizer and use those to farm another item at the same time. But here's where the second part of the farming trick comes in. After killing the mini bosses, leave Joey alive. You can now either let Joey kill you, or if you want to save cash in the game, then you can just fast travel back to the start of the map. This will reset the fight, meaning that the mini bosses will respawn and they will now be the exact same two that you had before you died or traveled. Now just drop back in and rinse and repeat, killing the mini bosses until you get the drops that you're after. It's important to note that you do not want to save and quit once you have the two mini bosses that you want, because once you save and quit, those bosses will reset and become different bosses each time. Now let's break down the weapons, shields, and grenade that you can get from these mini bosses one by one, and then we'll talk about the anoints to be on the lookout for afterward. So let's start with the weapons. First, the O.P.Q system. This lethal Atlas assault rifle is arguably the best all-around gun in the game. High damage, very accurate, feels good to use from nearly any range. This thing is arguably the best gun in the game. The O.P.Q is capable of extremely high DPS, and frankly, if you don't have one of these when the Guardian takedown comes out, you are going to be putting yourself at a bit of a disadvantage, I would say. Up next, the Yellow Cake. This badass launcher is capable of one-shotting several bosses in the game. Once you find the range and master the projectile placement of this thing, you will own nearly everything in sight. It always comes in radiation, which should be strong in the upcoming takedown, as most of the enemies are going to have shields that are weak to shock and radiation damage. The NoPewPew is an amazing weapon that does incendiary damage, but for some reason it just doesn't seem to care that fire isn't supposed to work well on shields and armor, and it tends to melt everything in sight regardless. This is one of the rare COV weapons that I actually really like. Up next, the needle gun. I'd honestly just say skip this one, but what it does is it debuffs enemies, allowing them to take more damage from other sources. It's possible to combo this for group play and make it worthwhile perhaps, but in my opinion it's not worth carrying around in your backpack. Up next, the grease trap. This gun is interesting. As Moxie covered in a recent video, you can use this in a group setting to do ridiculous amounts of damage, but when using it solo it's pretty horrible. If you want to, go check out Moxie's video, link down in the description below, for how to use this with teammates, because it's pretty wild what you can do. Up next, the Iceburger. Gimmick weapon, skip it, mount it to your wall, I don't care. It's just not really worth the slot in my opinion. Now on to the lone grenade mod from the Cartel event, the Fish Slap. This grenade actually does melee damage to enemies, so combining this with a cut purse artifact allows you to regenerate ammo for whatever weapon you're holding. Additionally, who knows, with the upcoming 2 patches, Gearbox said that they were going to fix melee scaling, so it's possible that this grenade could become a very powerful tool for a melee build. For anointments on this one, look for the bonus weapon, grenade, and action skill damage increased by 25% for 6 seconds on grenade throw. It's one of the best all-around anointments you can get on a grenade, but you might also consider using the action skill and elemental bonuses, especially for Flakamara and Moze. Now onto the shields. We got 2 shields in this content. A Wattson shield up first. Now maybe you'll have better luck, but every time I use this shield I end up killing myself with it. Basically this thing will shoot out a grenade when you take any kind of damage, and that grenade will be a random element every single time. Also, when your shield breaks, it releases 4 of these grenades, and if you are anywhere near them, you are dead. This damage is good for lower mayhem levels, but this shield is essentially useless on mayhem level 6 and above. And the last shield we got is the Firewall shield. Now this one is kind of flying under everybody's radar, but what this shield does is while you are crouched, you have a projected shield that blocks incoming fire. This projected shield will also fire out a projectile at enemies that when it hits it will restore a portion of your shield. Now obviously the downside to this is you have to be crouched for this to work, but for those of you guys that like to slide around in battle a lot, this could be beneficial for you as well. Ultimately, it is kind of gimmicky, but it could be a good option for certain playstyles. Now that we covered all the gear, let's give an overview of the best anointments to hunt for on guns. Be on the lookout for the 300% damage on enemies above 90% health. This is great for bosses, but it can also be used to take out large groups of mobs quickly. Very good on the O.P.Q, very good on the yellow cake, and also very good on the NoPewPew. The 200% damage while action skill active is very good, but the effect will go away if you swap weapons. So you lose the damage until you cast your action skill again. Use this when you know that you're going to be using one weapon for an extended period of time. The 100% damage after action skill ends is extremely good for Amara and Flak, who are able to get action skills back quick. On Amara, you can do what is called a fake grasp, where you phase grasp without targeting an enemy, and that will proc this anointment very quickly. If you're running a low health build, then the 150% radiation damage while below 50% health anoint can be very powerful. You can use this in conjunction with a front loader shield to guarantee that you will always be below half health in order to proc this anointment non-stop. This one can be exceptionally useful in the Guardian takedown. As I mentioned before, radiation is going to work really well versus shields. This will give you basically a constant 150% radiation damage. Each class has a range of specific anointments as well, depending on your build, that you should also be on the lookout for. Zane's 100% cryo while Sentinel is active. Amara's 250% phase cast or 300% slam. Moze's next 2 mags deal 150% incendiary damage or her splash damage bonus. And Flak's 115% bonus radiation while Gamma Burst is active are all good examples of class specific anointments that you can also get while farming for these items. So be on the lookout for those as well. Obviously, depending on what your build is, go for the one that you need. Those are my picks for the most valuable anointments and my guide on how to farm the Cartel gear that you are after as quickly as possible. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, then please take a second to hit that like button. If you really enjoy my content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost a thing. Also, let me know down in the comment section below, what weapons have you been after? What weapons have you had trouble getting? Let me know what you guys think is going to be the most powerful weapon for the Guardian takedown down below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.